Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to have a chat about that Japanese set, about, well, Paradise Dragona. And here's the thing. Paradise Dragona is giving us 2 new EXs, it's giving us a new Spec, and frankly, we need to have a good old chat about this. So that's what we're going to be doing in this here video. We're going to be having a look at Paradise Dragona. 2 new EXs and a new Spec. And we might as well start off having a look at what is the, well, it's at least the more terror of the 2 EXs. It's Terra Flygon. Yeah, that's right. Flygon is getting a Terra EX and it doesn't look half bad. 310 HP, fighting type, and weakness to grass, 1 retreat, and single energy, 130 damage, and you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench. Important to note, it is a you may switch, not a you must switch. Very, very important. Means if you want to switch to the bench, you can, but if you don't want to switch to the bench, you don't have to. And honestly, this is pretty gosh darn cool. Like, the typing alone is pretty good. The fact that you're a fighting type and you're hitting 130 means that with weakness, you'll be hitting up to 260. And it means the EXs, for instance, that you're hitting for weakness, I mean, even up to really stage 1 EXs, you're going to be looking pretty good here, and I like this. This seems to work for me. So, for instance, you know, for argument's sake, I don't know, Iron Thorns EX, which we all know is doing pretty well this weekend. I mean, you should, and if you don't, let me ruin a surprise for you. It's doing pretty well this weekend. Yeah, that's weak to fighting. So you can bring out this, get a nice one-hit KO, move on with your life, job's a good un. This is a decent amount of damage. It's better when you're hitting for weakness, I'll be honest with you. And it is a stage 2, so it's a pain to get going, but at least it is a single energy attack. The fact that it is a single energy attack helps massively. But you can also, you know, retreat behind a wall. Use this and put a Mimikyu in the active, for instance. So you're hitting really good damage, but then you're putting a Mimikyu up to stop your opponent being able to attack into it. Of course, Mimikyu only works if you're in the active, so your opponent can, you know, just gust around it. That's an option. But the wall Pokemon, and we've got a few basic wall Pokemon like Mimikyu at the moment, it's quite nice to be able to just hit 130, switch behind a wall, move on with your life. But the other attack here, we got water, fighting, metal, and you do 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. You don't apply weakness and resistance. Now, obviously, if you did hit for weakness, then all the things I just told you about hitting for weakness would be true about this as well. It's not. But honestly, this is a kind of fire it off 2 or 3 times and you win the game. This adds up quickly, especially if you can get some spreading in the early game, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to go for my boy Ting Lu here. Ting Lu, if there's a stadium in play, drops 20 damage on all of your opponent's Pokemon. It's a fighting type. So what I'm thinking here is use Ting Lu for the first couple of turns, get a bunch of damage on the board, and then in comes this. Oh, sorry, it does 30 to everything, Ting Lu. My apologies. Thought it was 20. It is, in fact, 30. It does 30 to everything. And if you can do this for a couple of turns with Ting Lu, and then bring in your Flygon to finish off, oh, that is going to get, well, it's going to KO everything. All the X's, all Pokemon V's, they are all going down. I like this. I'm giving it 4 Wassies, and it's the usual caveat here, right? It is a Stage 2 Pokemon. Being a Stage 2 Pokemon is awkward and annoying, and it's not going to work out brilliantly all the time. I'm sorry, that's where we are. But I'm telling you right now, this is a very, very nice card. Big HP, 2 good attacks. Just remember, it's a Stage 2, and being a Stage 2 is annoying. So why don't we look at a Stage 1? Why don't we look at Archaludon EX? What we got here is a 300 HP. Yes, that's only 10 less than Flygon. It's a stage 1 metal Pokemon, and it's got a really nice ability. The ability says that once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may attach up to 2 basic metal energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way that you like. It's energy acceleration and it's good. You can see that the attack takes 3 energy. We'll get to what it does in a minute. But essentially what you do here is you evolve up into it, you get 2 basic metal from your discard to this metal Pokemon, because remember it has to go to metal Pokemon, and then you attach from your hand, and then you're rolling. You can attach 2 from the discard, 1 from the hand, and then you get to attack. You can use this for other Pokemon as well, of course you can, and it's alright, but the problem is if you use it for other Pokemon, then you've got, and I mean it's got 300 HP, don't get me wrong, but you've got a pointless stage 1 EX just kind of sitting around. And I'm not a gigantic fan of that, honestly. I don't think that's the best way round. I think this works better accelerating to itself. And honestly, if you want a stage 1 Pokemon to accelerate metal energy, Metang is still better. Because Metang lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck once per turn and attach any number of basic metal to your Pokemon, not just metal, in any way that you like. So Metang here can accelerate up to 4, and it can accelerate to anything, not just to metal Pokemon, and it can do it every turn. Yes, Archaludon has the certainty that you're going to hit 2 energy. That's obviously brilliant. But the fact that it's a one-shot deal when you evolve into it essentially puts me at the point of, I really, really like it to get itself rolling. I don't really like it to accelerate energy elsewhere. I'm going to be honest with you, that's where we are. As for the attack, we've got 3 energy, metal, 220 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon has no weakness. Cool. Here's my problem with this card. It does 220. And we know right now that 220 isn't enough. You need to be hitting 230, or really, we see Iron Fawns doing really well this weekend at 230. We see Raging Bolt doing really well, constantly made top 8 at Worlds this weekend. That's sitting there with 240. You need to be hitting 240 nowadays. 220 is not the key number it used to be. I love the idea of having a stage 1 300 HP with no weakness. That's lovely. But 220 isn't quite enough. So now we're looking at having to potentially get some damage modifiers in as well. And it's not ideal. It's not terrible, but it's not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and give this one between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I do like having a 300 HP Pokemon that can attack essentially with 1 energy attachment. But it's not great for accelerating energy elsewhere. And it doesn't hit a key number. So that's why we end up where we end up. So moving on then, we got an A-Spec here as well. I told you we had an A-Spec. Don't want to let you down. We've got Megaton Blower. And this is another A-Spec that I could absolutely see seeing some play and seeing some love. What we got here is an A-Spec. It's an item card. Discard all Pokemon tools. Attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. All special energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and any stadium in play. Yep, this is pretty full on. Here's the problem. This is a very, very specific card. Really, in order for this card to work, in order to get the maximum value out of this card, you need to be against a deck that plays a whole bunch of special energy and or a whole bunch of tools. Getting rid of the stadium isn't a good enough reason to play this. And remember, we have a lot of very good A-Specs around at the moment, so if you're playing this, you're not playing, for instance, Prime Catcher or Reset Stamp. They are redonkulous cards that see a redonkulous amount of play, and nowadays when we look at A-Spec, we need to bear this in mind. We need to look at this as, no matter how good the card is it good enough to play over something like Prime Catcher or Unfair Stamp, and if it's not, then just stop right there. It's not going to see enough play, it's not going to be good enough. That is exactly where we are. Here, it is very, very situational. If you are really worried about Lugia and there's loads of it, the idea of getting rid of all of Lugia's energy, maybe on the turn you KO their Archeops, for instance, oh, that works. That sounds lovely. If there are other decks that are super hyper reliant on their special energy, then this becomes a very, very good card. If there are decks that are playing a redonkulous amount of tools and taking advantage of that, I'm looking at you, Honchkrow. Not saying Honchkrow is going to suddenly become really good. I'm just saying that, you know, decks that need tools, maybe this is kind of one of them. Then yeah, absolutely. In that situation, this becomes a really, really good A-Spec. Outside of that, I think this is very much binder fodder. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you have a situation where there is either a lot of decks playing special energy and tools, or specific decks that you're having issues with playing a lot of tools and special energy, put this in your deck. If that is not the case, don't play this card. It is a classic free Wussy card. You need it in your binder. It is not a complete trash card. It is a card that you could absolutely see play, but this is never going to be a ubiquitous card that sees play in everything. This is forever going to be a tech card that comes out here or there, and that's where we are. But I've told you about that now, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all three of these new cards in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.